Good morning and welcome to another live edition of Wealth Building Wednesday. Wealth Building Wednesday is brought to you by TRHT Selma. TRHT Selma is a partnership between the Selma Center for Nonviolence and the Black Belt Community Foundation. We have just completed a series dedicated to small business ownership and folks who have opted to opt out of the traditional 9 to 5, and we are transitioning into personal financial preparedness, y'all. We have got to start making some different decisions. And in order to do that, the good book tells us to write the vision and make it plain. And when we thought about doing this show, there was no other person who I thought would be like the most amazing guest ever, because she's the most amazing person ever. That is Mrs. Krystal Hardy Allen of K. Allen Consulting, and she is from Selma. She is, yes, a daughter of Selma, graduate of the School of Math and Science of Notre Dame, and she is headed into that PhD. So, Dr. Allen, welcome and good morning.
Good morning to you. How you doing, Lydia?
I am doing great. It is so good to see you again. Life takes us in different paths,
A
and
whole lot of different paths.
yeah. So it is awesome to see you.
Yeah.
And so this morning, we just really wanted to spend some time helping folks to not just to get to know you, but to allow people space to get to know themselves and talk about the importance of the visioning
Right.
for oneself,
Right.
and how we can, if we are to truly develop and accumulate generational wealth, how can we do that? Where are the starting points? And so when you consider your journey, and where you are today, because I do want folks to be clear that Selma produces greatness.
Yes, it does.
Dr. Allen is an extraordinary woman who is pouring into not just rural communities in Alabama. This sister is traveling the world, giving back and sharing her expertise. So when you consider your journey and where you are today, like, what would you say was the moment when you had the most like clear vision for your life?
I would happen to say graduating from undergrad at the University of Notre Dame was a pivotal moment for me. Not only was it optically a major moment as a young Black woman from Selma doing that, but as a first generation college graduate in my immediate family, I felt as though my family was graduating with me, you know, and that moment solidified for me that everything I would do moving forward would be about not only me, but my entire family, right? I think another reason why that moment was pivotal is because it was right around the time that Hurricane Katrina had hit New Orleans and devastated it as an entire community, but especially disproportionately impacted the Black community within New Orleans. And I had set my intentions to go to Xavier, actually, is one of my top choices. Ended up going to the University of Notre Dame for financial reasons because they paid my entire way. It was a $200,000 education. And at the time, if your family had less than $40,000, but you got in, they believed that money shouldn't have been a barrier for you, right? And so, like, that moment was huge for me to say, how will I use my life to help support a Black community that I feel connected to, which was in Louisiana, and it's in the deep South as a Southerner, but it was also, I'm now becoming a product of an institution that financially invested in me to have a top caliber education. So I think like there's some other things connected to that graduation moment, but for me, Lydia, there was such symbolism in that moment that let me know without a shadow of a doubt that whatever I spent my life doing, it needed to be about service. It needed to be about creating a legacy. And it needed to be about breaking chains. and like supporting myself and other people to experience liberation.
Wow. So when you think about those moments,
Mhm.
and how clear that vision was for you, how important is it for us as individuals to have a clear vision and mission for our lives?
I think it's very important because without a clear vision, we can constantly sway back and forth and be scattered or all over the place in our decision making to
Hmm.
do things or align ourselves with spaces or people or initiatives that really don't drive you towards fulfillment of that vision. And so when your vision is clear, it serves as a sort of compass that helps you know what to say yes to, what to say no to. And I think it keeps you grounded in a lot of ways that ultimately pushes you to say, how is what I'm doing fulfilling that? Right. And how will I know that I'm on the path towards it? And how will I know that I've achieved it? Right. So I think there's something that is reminiscent of a GPS for your life that a vision really serves.
And so now a part of what you do professionally is helping organizations and individuals identify what their mission is, identify
Mhm.
how to even the steps to write a successful mission statement,
Right.
visioning for
Yep.
organizations.
Yep.
So I recently had an experience with some young people
Mhm.
and actually followed up with a conversation with my son, and asking about what is it that you have planned. I
Mm.
asked high school students, these were high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors,
Okay.
10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Yep.
I was so hurt when the majority of them literally did not have a thought,
Yeah.
much less the concrete idea, right? But
Yeah.
like of what 10 years from now looks like. Now I know there are a lot of things that can contribute to that, right?
Right.
When we look
Right.
on the
Right.
news, the portrayal of Black life in America,
Yep.
it feels like it doesn't really matter. So 10 years from now, and I had one young man say, you know what, I never really even thought about it.
Mm.
But as adults,
Mhm.
when we're thinking about trying to prepare our own financial and to be successful in regards to our own financial future,
Mhm.
career wise, if there
Mhm.
needs to be a shift, this is the opportune moment,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
COVID, listen, if COVID
Yeah.
didn't tell us anything else, it showed us that all these workplaces do not care about us,
Yeah.
right? It may
Yeah.
be just that they want
The
the
outcomes.
the outcomes, right,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
not so much the growth that should be sparking as a result of employment. So
Right.
how do we know though when we're on the right track and you know getting to the point where we're living on purpose? Like what does that feel like? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that we have to begin with the end in mind and say, what do I want to be true for my life in multiple areas of our lives though?
Okay.
Because here's the thing. When I think about wealth, I think
Hmm.
about wealth beyond finances. I think about holistic
Amen.
wealth, right? And like what does it mean to be spiritually wealthy? What does it mean to be emotionally, mentally wealthy in your relationships, wealthy in your professional life and endeavors, right? So if we think about wealth as like a total circle of wellness and these different components, one part is really answering the question of what do I want, right? So like if that is financially, I want to be able to be debt free, or I want to be able to seed tens of thousands of dollars to other Black business owners to
Yes.
support them and give financial relief, then we have to say, number two, what are my strategies? What will be my methods? What essentially is my how to get me there, right? And so part of it is that to accrue that amount of money, essentially, am I going to go through entrepreneurship? Am I going to invest and grow my money? Am I going to pursue like more promotion or professional advancement within my like 9 to 5, like
Mhm.
employment context, to get it. Because the reality is that the gap between where you are and what you want has to be a plan, and so without that plan, we really can't quite estimate whether or not we're going to get to the finish line. And the other piece of that is, along the way we get to know our benchmarks, right? So a year from now or 2 years from now, I want to have $20,000 saved in an account that I'm not touching, or I want to have $1,000 saved by
Mhm.
December. And if I want that, then what am I going to cut back? What am I going to do? What am I going to sell? What am I going to execute in terms of an action to get me there? And it's combined with discipline, of course,
Mm.
because the discipline is, I think discipline pushes us to say, how bad do you want it? You say this is what you want, but are you willing to give up short-term gratification for long-term gain? Because what may be satisfying for us in the immediate moment, may not be what's best for us. And it
Right.
doesn't often feel good to work your plan, but you have to trust the process that what you are doing will bear bountiful fruit.
I'm so glad that you talked about that desire for us to have immediate gratification.
Hmm.
There's an article in the Atlantic that talks about how social media has caused us to kind of dumb down as a society, and that we're truly not engaging in real conversations anymore, but rather getting behind keyboards and
Yes.
and tackling issues in many times a very destructive way. So when you
Yeah.
talk about the immediate gratification, like the immediate gratification of getting on Facebook and
Yeah.
sharing how you feel about a certain
Yeah,
situation,
yeah, yeah. You don't have to
right?
say something about everything. Not
Right.
everything deserves a comment.
Exactly. you know? And so having that plan in place though, right?
Right.
Even when it comes to something as what we may think as small as social media, because who knows if you're starting your own business
Right.
and you feel like everything deserves a comment.
Yep.
Then what happens when those comments start to impact your business or
Yeah.
impact your brand?
So here's something that I think we have to think about. Everything has to be done with intentionality. Even your social media presence is
Mhm,
about vision setting. So even though you are a business owner, or even if you're not and you are a professional or you're a college student or whoever you are, you have to be thinking, how do I want to be seen? How do
mhm,
I want to be perceived? What do I want people to take away from interaction or engagement with me? So I think about this personally and professionally. So I think, when someone comes to our Instagram page or Facebook page or even our website or other forms of digital, platforms, what do I want them to walk away feeling and knowing about who this business is and what we do?
mhm,
Right. And so part of it then has to say, when I'm able to say, I want people to be inspired, then I have to say, from a strategy standpoint, what will be inspirational to actually post, because alignment is key. If it's not inspiring, I will not post it, right? I also want people to walk away feeling the momentum and the power and the legitimacy of us as an international Black owned business. And
yeah,
so I have to then say, what type of content will help people see that we are like in many different places, to help them see that we are Black and we are proud, right? And so
yes,
content has to align, but the personal aspect is the same thing. As a person, aside from being a business owner, I want people to know that Krystal is Black.
mhm,
She's from Selma.
mhm,
She is proud in country, in particular, being from Sardis, Alabama. I want
yeah,
them to know that I am funny. I want them to know that I love God. I want them to know that I love my family and I like to have a good time. And everything I post is aligned to that.
right,
And without me saying it, that's what people will see. If it's not aligned to that, they won't see it. I also want people to know that I'm transparent and vulnerable, which is why when I
mm,
post, I'm very thoughtful about what I'm saying and what I'm not. And I'm thoughtful about sharing a lesson behind it or a testimony of what God did. I'm like, God, 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 because I want them to know that it didn't happen devoid of my faith.
yes,
Right. And so it doesn't mean that I don't do other stuff. Like, I like to dance, I know how to twerk. I'm not good at it. But the reality is that the details of my social life, you don't necessarily see posted
Right.
online because I also recognize that some things are for my private life and my private circle and lived experience, and some things are for public consumption. And so I get to
Absolutely.
make a choice of what people see and what they don't see. And I want them to recognize then that there's intentionality about what is being curated. It's not on accident what's being curated.
So now the wisdom that you're pouring into us in this moment begs me to ask, as we travel along this journey called life, how important is it for us to have mentors, whether we are youth or even as adults,
Mhm,
people
mhm.
who can coach us along the way?
Yeah,
Are we setting our
yeah,
expectations too high when we say that we want our friends to be our
yeah.
mentors or our coaches? Is it
Mm,
important to have folks
yeah.
like that in our lives?
Absolutely. I think that it is important, and I forget who actually coined it. I don't know whether it was Dr. Gloria Latson Billings or someone else. I believe in crediting people for their work and their thought leadership. But
Yeah.
I think we should have windows and mirrors, right?
Okay.
Mirrors represent representation. You need to be able to see people who look like you, who resonate with your identity doing things, right? Which is why Black Panther was such a pivotal film for the Black
Yes.
community, because we saw ourselves. And in particular, we not only saw Black people, we saw dark skinned Black people who had
Mhm.
not been in the forefront of major leading roles from a
Right.
casting standpoint, right? And so we need to be able to see ourselves, but windows represent possibility. You need to see what is far beyond you, because until you see it, it is very difficult to be what you cannot see. Right. And so
Absolutely.
the reality is that for me, when I see business owners, and in particular Black business owners, and in particular Black women business owners, doing major things like purchasing commercial real estate property, it shifts my mindset to say, I'm not only going to lease an office in somebody else's building, I'm going to buy my own doggone building. Right.
Yes.
And I'm going to go after it. And I'm doing it because I see the inspiration of what someone else has done. And it gives me permission to dream,
Yes.
even dream beyond that, right? And so I think that we have to be very intentional about what we allow into our eye gates,
Okay.
right? What are we watching? What are we trying to be? What are we trying to emulate? In what spaces are we allowing ourselves to dream and imagine and go after it?
So could it be that that some many times our youth, because when I hear, again, going into my frame of reference in the community working with young people,
Hmm.
high school students,
Yeah.
when I hear the desire, the top, three careers: rapper, basketball, football play,
Hmm.
right? At the
Hmm.
professional level.
Hmm.
So is there something that we're not doing as the generation before them, to help them see that there's potential beyond
Hmm.
being a rapper, a dancer, a basketball player, a
Hmm.
football player?
Yeah. I think number one, storytelling is important, right?
Mm,
I think
mhm.
that people, young people, and really all people have to see again what is possible, because when there's a limited portrait of what is possible, that's what you gravitate towards, because that's the only thing that you know, right? So part of it is that if I see that an NFL player went back to their hometown and they built a new school, a
Yes.
multi-million dollar school, right?
Mhm.
You're like, I want to be able to do that. And in order to do that, I got to have that type of bread and I got to be in this profession. And the reality is, and this is why I believe walking in your purpose and the pursuit of excellence at what you do is so important. Because when you are fully tapped in, money, you recognize that money attracts to you. You don't
Yes.
go beg for it. You don't go hunt it down. When you are really good at whatever God has put you on this earth to do, money will find you because opportunities will find you. And the reality is, you can buy a building too. You
Mhm.
don't have to be an NFL player to buy a building, right? To be a real estate investor, to do all these things. And so part of it is that as those of us who are not in those roles are doing major things, we got to talk about it. We got to tell it. And I don't mean just tell it when we reach the final destination. We got to tell the story in the process, right? Of how it was made possible so that other people can see I can be a teacher and I can do X, Y, and Z. I don't even have to leave the classroom to have this type of impact that I want to have in my community. And so I think storytelling is one part of it. Secondly, I do think there's a role that schools play, Lydia,
Okay.
because when we tell the narrative as educators of what it means to be successful, often what is on the tongue is a doctor, is a
Yep.
lawyer, is
Yep.
this and that. And so we have to actually redefine what success looks like as we are socializing our young people in schools. So that when we have career day, I want to hear from the local mechanic who owns 3 different shops, because as a business owner, he has then scaled to put his business in 3 different areas, who's local and making $900,000. I want to also see the doctor and surgeon, but I also want to see the woman who is a stylist who is running a $500,000 shop, right?
Yes.
Like we actually have to see different portraits of success, because in a limited definition of success, we have a lot of classism and there's a lot of
Yes.
elitism, because I'm actually saying that to be successful, you only have to have a college degree. And that ain't true. There are a lot of college graduates with a lot of debt that are
Yes.
not making meaningful impact in the world. And there are
Mm-hmm.
some people who don't have 4-year college degrees or advanced degrees, and they're like doing phenomenal things, right? We're on a social media platform, Facebook, that is the brainchild of someone who does not have a bachelor's degree,
At
right?
all.
And so it's a multi-billion-dollar business. And so part of it is that there had to be something in addition to him, of course, being white and him, of course, being a male. So he has white privilege and male privilege. But
Right.
in those conditions, there is something that said there's a gap and I'm going to go fill it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a need in the community or society and I'm going to go work at it. Right. And I'm going to put my gifts and talents behind it. I'm going to monetize it and the world will use it.
And that he did. And we can do that. We can
Oh,
follow that
absolutely. Our
example.
ancestors have done that.
Yes.
That's the education piece. Like we're not. So again, when we talk about excellence and innovation, we got to talk about that the fact that the refrigerator is a Black invention,
Yes.
right? The fact that the traffic light we go through every day is a Black invention. Knowledge
Yes.
is power. So when you don't see your people and their historical accomplishments, then you wonder, what value do we have? But when you understand that, then you understand I got that in my DNA too,
Yes.
right? I'm not the first to step on the scene to do it. My people have been innovating. My people have been entrepreneurial since day one,
Absolutely.
since the beginning of time.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because just yesterday I was sharing, I'm like, listen, y'all, we are the product of the survivors. There were
Literally,
millions of our
literally.
ancestors who did not even
Yes.
make the middle passage. Do y'all know
Yes.
what the
That's
middle
so true.
passage is? No,
Yes.
what's that? The middle
Mhm.
passage was, so I went through the description of the middle passage. Millions of people who look like us did not make it. We
Millions.
are the product of the
Mhm.
ones who not only
Yeah.
made it, but we survived
Yes.
enslavement, forced
Mhm.
labor, right?
Right.
We
Right.
survived.
Yeah.
We are the
Amazing.
products of the ones who survived lynchings and murders because
Yeah.
someone whistled or
Yes.
is accused of winking,
Mhm.
at a white woman. And
Mhm.
it's like we are the ones who survived
Yeah.
being beaten on a
Yep.
bridge to vote in a
Mhm.
place that we still in 2022 are struggling to maintain the right to vote, right? So we come from that. So imagine what you can do because y'all have
Right.
access to this thing.
Everything.
We are our ancestors'
Everything. Yeah.
wildest dreams.
For real. We really are. We really are.
And
We
so
really
for
are.
us to do so little with so much,
Yeah.
and which is why it's so important that as we pivot from focusing on how to build small businesses, to how we build our individual sales, like to start with
Yeah.
a conversation about vision, to
Yeah.
start with a
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
about being able to build ourselves up with history. And
That's
this
right.
is not just white, I mean black history. This
Yes.
is white history too, because this is American history. These are
Yeah.
things that we have got to teach our young
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
and our look, our
Yep.
yelders, look, not quite young and not quite elder,
Elders.
and our elders, the folks who just simply don't
Yeah,
know
that's so
because
true.
we've had
That's true.
limited access to information.
Yeah, that's right. And when we talk about vision, I think we have to decide and make time to think
Yes, Lord.
and be still and really reflect and consider what it is that we want. I am very thoughtful, Lydia, about in advance of even having children because, I desire to have children one day. My husband and I will be, parents one day. I think about the type of mother I want to be. And that's a vision exercise. Like, who do I want to be for my children? And the reason why that's so important is because even though my children are not here yet, everything that I'm doing, particularly as a business owner, is setting up the conditions that they are going to walk into. So I'm building a team from having started out being a solopreneur by myself because that vision that I have as a mother will be the fact that I want to be present in a certain type of way. And to do that, the business can't just start and stop with me.
Right.
It has to be sustainable, right? I want to be able to, be a certain type of person in my faith walk. And in order to do that, I have to make daily decisions about time that I'm carving out for prayer, time that I'm carving out to read my word, time that I'm carving out to be plugged in to the local ministry here in New Orleans that I attend. And so I think that I can't underscore enough the importance of sitting and really saying, what do you want?
Yeah.
And not comparing and contrasting what you want to what someone else wants, but like at the end of the day, what is going to make you happy? What is
Yeah.
going to make you feel free? What is going to give you peace in your mind and your spirit? What will you be satisfied with when it is your time to transition from this earth, knowing that you have done for not only yourself, but for other people?
Yes.
You
What's in
know?
that dash?
Yeah,
We know the
that's
beginning, we know
true.
the
That's
beginning
real.
date. We
Yeah,
don't know the end date, but what's
yeah,
in that dash?
that's right.
What's in that in between? What have we done?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, girl, okay. So we always have great conversations, and I know our 30 minutes is almost up, but I do
Yeah.
want to just quickly because you're from Selma by
Mhm.
way of Sardis. And yes, look. And I'm sure that this is not going to be the first time that you've heard this our community be described, or the black belt in general be described as like quicksand, right?
Yeah,
That it's really hard for people to get their start, to get that firm
yeah,
foundation,
yeah.
because and there are a lot of things that pour into that. But
Mhm.
what are some tools, some tips, some advice
Yeah,
that you could give to those who just feel stuck? They
yeah,
can't pick up and leave, but what's step one to getting unstuck, if you will?
yeah. I think step 1 is taking an inventory or auditing or paying attention to what is your holding space or what is your day-to-day environment. And what I mean by that is, what am I listening to throughout the course of a day? That's inclusive of like radio, music, what am I watching? Shows, movies, documentaries. Who are my friends? Like, who are the people, and not even just friends, who am I talking to the most? Like, who's on my favorites list?
Mm-hmm.
What am I reading? There's something to be said about whether or not what you are consuming and what you are surrounding yourself with, whether it is helping you to propel forward or whether it is contributing to that emotion that you feel of being stuck. right? Because if I, for instance, just hear over and over again, this is where it's at. And I don't mean physically, geographically. I mean like wherever you are, whatever your
Mhm.
scenario is, whether it's like your life with a partner, whether it's the job that you're working on, whatever scenario you're in, if you hear language that this is all you deserve,
Mhm.
you can't get better than this. You should be grateful for what you have only, period. And not be surrounded by permission to want more, to be more, to give more, to do more, then you're going to be constantly stuck in that holding pattern,
Yeah.
right? And so part of it is then to say, how can I make changes to then invite new information, new ideas, new possibilities, new content, right? That's even in who you follow on Instagram
Yeah.
and social media. How is what you're feeding yourself keeping you in a rabbit hole? Or are you allowing yourself to tap into new people to say, like, I didn't even know that was possible? Or let
Yeah.
me learn about this because I don't know, right? I don't know what it means to invest. I don't know. We all got to learn. We got to start somewhere. But I think that making those changes of what you listen to, what you're watching, what you read, what you consume, who you talk to, who you're plugged into, who is your mentor, who's your role model. If you don't have one, who can become one for you
Yeah.
is a major step because it goes back to this idea that what sometimes we're surrounding ourselves with are things that are no longer, or people that are no longer, or places that are no longer serving us,
Yes.
right? And so we're trying to produce water from rocks, and the rocks were never meant to plenish us,
Right. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think about that can be really pivotal.
So, I just invite everyone who is watching live, who may be listening to the radio rebroadcast, to take step one.
Yeah.
Start today, start this evening, start first thing in the morning, but take inventory of
Yeah.
your day to day environment. What are
Yeah.
you listening to? What are you reading? What
Yeah.
shows are you tapping into? Yeah. What do
How
you
are you
want?
even starting your day? Like, what's your
Right.
morning routine? Do you roll over and go straight to your phone? Like, how do you start your day?
Right. Yes. Yes. So that is our challenge. Listen,
Yeah.
Dr. Allen has issued us a challenge. We are to take an inventory of our day to
Yeah.
day environment
Yeah.
because, just as she said, listen,
Yeah.
there are times where we have to cut folks loose. Things we have to let those things go because they no
Yeah.
longer serve us.
And let me say this, Lydia, we don't have to
Mhm.
vilify those
Exact.
people, those
Yes.
places, or anything. Like, it's just that gentle distance
Yes.
to remove yourself from
Yes.
environments or lessen contact or do whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
To just move forward in what is going to help you, right? And put you on a different
Absolutely.
track.
Absolutely. So I want to thank you for taking time out. I know you are a busy, busy, busy woman, but thank you for taking time out to pour into our community yet again with your skill and expertise. Y'all, you have been tuned in, watching, listening to Wealth Building Wednesday. We broadcast every single Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 10:30 Central Standard Time, right here on Facebook and YouTube. If you are listening to the audio rebroadcast, we just want to thank our media partner WBFZ 105.3 for caring enough to share this valuable information and all of the tools that we make accessible, y'all.
Yeah,
Taking an inventory of your day-to-day environment, that's an accessible tool that we
it
can
is.
start on our lunch break. All
That
right.
part. That
So
part.
if we are serious about building wealth, whether
Yeah.
it is financial wealth or increasing our physical health,
Hmm.
start today. Let's take
Yeah.
inventory, y'all. Dr. Allen said it. Look. So we are going to get out of here. Thank you
Yeah,
again, Dr. Allen, for being with us.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone who has tuned in. Y'all, please like, tag, and share. Set
Yeah.
your reminders because every single Wednesday from 10 to 10:30, we come to you live with
Mhm.
Wealth Building Wednesday.
Love it.
See you next Wednesday.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.